Welcome back to another Sunday prep day. If you're new here, every Sunday I prep for the week. So that means cutting all my vegetables and making things that take a little bit longer. So today I'm going to make a leek soup, for example. And yeah, I'll just walk you through what I'm prepping, what I'm using everything for. So I'll start off by cutting up some onion that I'm going to use for some leek stumppot and my leek soup. And yeah, I'll just start by going over the menu. So for lunch today, I'm having sandwiches. I have some baguette, and I'll have that with some ham and some cheese and some cucumber. And I'm just gonna dice up this red onion for some risotto. If you're new here, I usually have low-carb, keto-friendly lunches because I'm diabetic and I have to cut carbs, but on the weekend I have my cheat days. So I miss sandwiches, so I have sandwiches. So then for dinner, I'm going to have a leek stumppot, and if you don't know what a stumppot is, that's a Dutch dish consisting of vegetables mashed together with potatoes, and in this case, that's leeks, and also do a little bit of onion and garlic. And I'll add some bacon lardons, and I'll serve that with some sausages. Sausages were on sale this week, so you'll see that in a lot of meals. So let's get this in a container. Then on Monday, Meatless Monday, for lunch, I'm going to do a leek soup. So that's leek, celery, a little bit of onion and garlic, some carrot, and some cream in this case. I don't usually do a lot of cream in soups, but I think for this I will. Sometimes you will add, potato to a leek soup, but since I want to keep it low carb, I'm not going to. And the cream will thicken it more than enough. So I'm just cutting up one more onion. Then for dinner on Meatless Monday, I'm going to have some either some vegan tacos with lentils, or I'm going to turn them into quesadillas with some cheese, so that would make it vegetarian, not vegan. So I haven't fully decided yet. I like both. But yeah, we'll have lentils, it will have carrot, onions, garlic, chilies. And I'm just going to cut up a couple of cloves of garlic. So then we're on Tuesday. Let me scroll up a bit. For Tuesday, I'm going to have some sausages with some green beans. I have green beans left over from last week, so they need to be used up. So that's perfect to do with some sausages. And I think I'll just grill the sausages. That's my favorite way to do that in my Ninja Foodi. And then for dinner on Tuesday, I do Taco Tuesday. I'm going to have either tacos or quesadillas again. Haven't fully decided yet, but that will be with chorizo. And I'll have peppers, onions, garlic, you know, all that stuff. And sometimes I make my own salsa to go with it. This time I'm just using a store-bought salsa. Just because when I make that salsa, the roasted salsa, I always make a big batch. And I've made it quite a lot recently, and I just don't want to have that for like 3 or 4 meals again. So I'm just doing a store-bought salsa this time. Then for Wednesday, I'm going to do some stuffed peppers, and I'm going to use some of that, some of the sausages. I think the Catalan Spanish sausages that I have, I'll take them out of their casing, mix them with a bunch of vegetables, and put them inside my peppers. And I'm looking forward to that. And then for dinner on Wednesday, if you watched the video last week, you saw that I made a big batch of curry paste. So I have some of that left over still, and I'm going to use that for a chicken curry. So I'll use some chicken thighs. I think I'm going to use the bone-in, skin-on one. So the kind, you can use just boneless, skinless as well, whatever you prefer. but I think for a curry, something with a bone in it that will stew for a while would be nice. And maybe I'll add some peas to that, or I have some frozen spinach in the freezer too. We'll just see. I'm just cutting up some spring onions that I'm going to mostly use for garnish. I have 2 of these right here. So that leads us to Thursday. For lunch, I'm going to have some chicken thighs with some broccoli. Or maybe I'll use some sausages if I have some left over. We'll just see. That's the nice thing also about prepping the ingredients and not the whole meals. I can still change things if I want to. No problem at all. I'll see what kind of meat I'm going to take out of the freezer or what I have left in the fridge. So, and then for dinner on Thursday, I'm going to make some risotto again with some sausages. And I'll add some frozen peas to that as well. Meanwhile, I'm just cutting up some leek for my leek stomppot and my leek soup. But yeah, now we're on Friday. For lunch, I'm gonna have some salmon with some green beans. And then for dinner, I'm gonna do some salmon in puff pastry that I had the other day, like 2 weeks ago, I think, as well. I had some left over, and I'll do that with some peas and some, I think I'm going to do some roasted potatoes, potato wedges. I'm not fully sure yet, that's why I'm not cutting them yet. But I'll have some kind of potato. Maybe I'll hand cut some fries, or we'll just see. But yeah, that's Friday. I think that is enough leeks. I'm going to save that bit. And since leeks have a lot of sand in them, I will give them a quick rinse. There we go. Then for my leek soup, I have some celery, so I'll use that. I'll just cut that nice and fine. I'm not gonna blend my soup or strain it or anything, so I'm just gonna cut things relatively fine. And 1 rib is enough for just 1 portion. Then I have some carrots. I'll get my julienne slicer. You can do a coarse grate as well, but this will be for my lentil tacos or quesadillas. And I'll just grate this. And this is going to be the bulk together with the lentils of the filling. That is enough. I also use a little bit of this in my stuffed peppers. And then I have this little end bit left over, so I'll just cut that into smaller pieces to go in my soup. So I'll cut that into quarters and then slice that nice and thin. And since that's going in the soup, I'll just put that in with the celery. So there we go. Then here I have some broccoli for 1 meal. So I'll just cut off the florets. I'll save the stems for things like broccoli rice or something like that. And I'll just make these into bite-sized pieces. There we go. Then here I have a bell pepper. That's what I'm going to use for my stuffed peppers. So I'm just cutting them in half, taking out the core and the little ribs. And those I'll just stuff with that sausage meat and some veggies. And then here I have one of these pointy peppers. I think they're called Anaheim. They're sweet, they're not spicy. They're like bell peppers, just in a different shape. And this I will use for my quesadillas, for example, or tacos. So I'll just take the seeds out. I don't need it super fine for this, so I'll just cut it into ribbons by cutting it across. And I'll just do that for both halves. There we go. And then here I have some chilies, again, for my tacos, my quesadillas, etc. So I have 2 cayenne that I'll just slice up. I'm not going to bother taking the seeds out because cayenne are not very spicy. And then I also have these chilies. I don't know what they're called, but they kind of look like wrinkly jalapenos, but they have, just like jalapenos, that big pith in the middle. So I will cut that out because that's just too much. And again, I'm just going to slice them up. And yeah, these are not very spicy either. It's purely because that's a lot of seed that I just don't want in there. So that is chilies. Then I have some cherry tomatoes. Those are going to go in my curry. And I'm just going to cut them in half so they cook down easier. And I'll just do that for the whole batch. And the tomatoes must be in season at the moment because they're very cheap and plentiful. So I'm using that in a lot of things. I try to cook seasonally as much as possible because one, it's more flavorful, but two, it's also a lot cheaper. Okay, that is tomatoes. And then next up, I have some potatoes. And I'll just give them a quick peel. And I'll just cut these into chunks. And these I'll boil tonight and I'll mash in with my Stumpled. So that's potatoes. Then I have some cucumber, and that will go in my sandwiches. And then last up, I have a whole bunch of green beans. I'm going to use them in 2 meals. And these I'll just top and tail. Okay, that's it for chopping. We're at 19 minutes. So I'm just going to start putting some things away and then I'll be back to make the soup. So while I was putting things away, I also preheated my Ninja Foodi on saute, so I'm just going to add a splash of oil. And I'll add in my carrots and celery, a little bit of my white or yellow onion, some garlic, and some leek. I'll add a bit of salt, and I'll just let this all soften. Now that everything is softened, I'm just going to add some cream. And I have this sad bunch of parsley left over that is perfect for a soup. I'm just going to leave it whole because I want to take that out. I don't want to leave that in. So I'll just dump that in and I'll just let that simmer for a bit. And that is the soup done. Like I said, I fished out the parsley. That did its job. It gave the flavor. I didn't need that in there anymore. So I'm just going to let this cool down so I can put that in the fridge, and that is ready to go for tomorrow. And yeah, that's all the prep work for this week. If you like this kind of content, I do this every single Sunday. And if you'd like to see what I do with all of these ingredients, you can check out my Instagram where I post every single meal, or you can check out the video I post on here about once a month where I show you a whole week of everything I eat in a day, and oftentimes including how to make everything as well. So I posted one 2 weeks ago now, I think. So yeah, leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe, and thanks for watching. Until next time, bye for now.